First of all, open source is where innovation happens, right? So it's very important from my perspective. And
We are back with Cloud to Talk episode, and as you can see, we have Audra here, and who I know like most of the people who might have the idea, they have checked the Slack messages or something, but they never know like who is the person sitting at the end and doing that stuff, and who is managing this community on the various sides. So yeah, we have the CNCF's community manager here, Audra, and we are going to ask various doubts, and I'm going to clear various things with her as I'm getting inspired from the CNCF work from the long time, and it is really big community. And as we know, like CNCF is hosting various projects, and most of the projects like Kubernetes, Prometheus, Istio are really popular kind of a thing. So yeah, let's not don't waste much time. And yeah, Audra, you can introduce yourself.
hi, Rohit. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk about the community programs that we have here at CNCF, but a little about myself. I came from O'Reilly Media with an events background. So I mostly worked on open source community events globally with O'Reilly Media. And then, as most people had to do, pivot into the virtual space. And so when O'Reilly shuttered their in person events, I moved over to a startup, DataStax. And at that point, I led their virtual initiatives, whether it be virtual events or podcasts. But that's where I was introduced to the data on Kubernetes community. And so I actually met Bart Farrell through DataStax because they were talking a lot about Kubernetes and Cassandra, their database. And I got a good taste of the community that way. And then now work with CNCF. This started past June. And so I've been able to have the pleasure of getting to know the Kubernetes and other cloud native communities on a much closer level through the programs that I run, which are KCDs. And then I also help out with the cloud native community groups.
Yeah, so to summarize, you moved out from the OLE, like managing the events and stuff, and now you at the CNCF and doing these things for the CNCF community for helping them across various things. So previously you were at the technical side, or like you were at means like what is your focus from the start? Like you enjoy the community management stuff, if person events and stuff, or like you focus on the technical side, like open source and kind of a thing. So, also, most of the times, I know like you are doing all of this together, but I would like to know like what will be your focus? Yeah,
Sure. So my focus was actually on the content. So coordination of the content. I worked with technical people on the program committees for these open source events. And so I would manage the launch of the programs and, make sure that everybody was focused on the common goals of spreading the knowledge of innovators in the open source industry. And then also on the logistics side, making sure programs were launched and everybody had the communications that they needed, forming different processes among the speaker management team, for example. And so there was a lot of logistics in my work, but all with technical people. And so I learned to, navigate the way that these folks' minds worked and, what they needed to focus on in terms of their presentation. And so just handling the things that they shouldn't think about, like how to get to their talk, what kind of resources they have to present, what kind of resources they need to provide their attendees ahead of time so they're best prepared. And this was not only through sessions, but also keynotes and tutorials, and then workshops and training later on. So there was a lot more of a deep dive into, certifications at that point. And so I am excited to be working with CNCF in that aspect too, and enabling people to get their CKA or CKAD, for example. Um,
got it.
and allowing that as an option too for KCDs to offer. So the KCDs are community-led events. And so we're enabling these people to put on their own events, providing them resources on how to best do that, and a networking opportunity as well. So
Got it.
everybody collaborating with other organizers. What did they do? What worked? What didn't work, etc. And we also do this not only through Slack channels, but also, social media, and then a working group once a month. So we usually have like a dedicated topic, for example, and people can attend if it's relevant to them, or if they want to contribute or learn something. And it's usually a presentation by me or my colleague Katie Greenlee, and it's nice to just stop after each slide and say, hey, do you have input on how this can be done better or anything we missed? And it's a collaborative effort in that manner.
Got it. Yeah, like I completely know like you enjoy your work. So I would like to ask like do you feel like community management and these devil things are like kind of a booming nowadays? So what is your take on the same? And would you recommend people I mean, it's like I am seeing like most of the people who are starting in these things, they are di directly getting started with the community management and dev stuff. So means like there is some dev kind of a thing in the dev, right? So what is your take on this? Hope you get the question.
Absolutely. So, well, open source is where innovation happens, right? So it's very important from my perspective and the Cloud Native Computing Foundation's perspective to have communities, whether it be on a specific project or a specific topic area. To get started in a new community, it's always nice to find your main form of communication that's used in your region or culture, if you will. So maybe it's Slack, Discord, LinkedIn, WhatsApp, WeChat, and then also starting with a community group or a meetup to gauge interest in your community and the demand. And then if you're getting demand and we say, like, okay, say you had 30 people for your first community group or meetup, that's great. Do it again and see what happens in the next one. And that's an opportunity to build a cadence of, say, once a month. If you're overzealous, maybe every other week, and you can kind of fill in a virtual one, on the second one of the month, for example. There's so many ways to interact with your community, but it is definitely important to answer your question, especially if you want innovation to happen in your current company, or if you want to level up people who are new to the cloud native space, introduce them to different projects. Collaboration is super key when it comes to moving fast with the speed of change.
Got it. So we are seeing for the long time like CNCF is focusing on the open source. Thanks for bringing that up. So CNCF website like it has everything needed to the every cloud native folk who is entering this world. So do you think like people is utilizing it as well? Because I'm thinking like when they get started with the DevOps and cloud native, most of the people th are not aware of the cloud native website, the cncf.io. So what are the resources available there? Should like every DevOps and cloud native enthusiast like should take like understanding from it and should definitely get inspired from. So would you share something on that?
Absolutely. I like to get people started on community.cncf.io, and that's a great way to search where your regional community groups might be starting. And then if you go to cncf.io, then there are mentorship programs too that you could sign up for. We also have an ambassador program that Katie Greenlee has just revamped, among others in the CNCF community team. And so those ambassadors are actually going to be held accountable to mentor or speak more often at events in their region. Definitely be a part of the KCD program, and just be more hands-on. And then there's an opportunity to be an ambassador twice a year. So it's not just, a 5-year chunk of time that you're an ambassador, not even just 1 year, but you can apply in the winter and then reapply the next fall. And so you have essentially, the first half of the year and the second half of the year with 2 sets of ambassadors. And these folks are great resources to help people get started in a community and introduce you to people that you could collaborate with.
Got it. So community.cncf.io is something to get started with, and hope they can get the various projects there, and they can. I guess there is some path to directly go to the scheduled meetings of monthly meetings, and also they can go to the Slack and ask the doubts kind of thing. Also, Audra mentioned the KCDs. KCDs is the biggest regional events you will say around the cloud native and Kubernetes world. So most of the folks in India is also organizing. So if you are from the India, you should check the recent case studies. And Audra manages it from the scratch. Like she manages everything about that, and she has like other colleagues for the same. So if you have heard any KCD Amsterdam, KCD Italy, KCD Israel, and some words like that, she is the one who manages that thing. So if you have any doubts regarding the same, feel free to ask like CFP, how to get started with the CFP, and like which kind of a CFP gets accepted. So I guess Audra can point out some of the points on the same also, right? Because she has seen from these things from the start. Also, you can also guide us on the same side, like if you are building the CNCF committee from the scratch, uh, who like what things you should have done previously, and who should you reach out for at the start, and whom should you take to your community and advocate it in nice manner. So yeah.
That's a great question. So we have a GitHub repository that's dedicated to CNCF programs. There's one for Cloud Native community groups, and then there's one for KCDs. Cloud Native Community Group is a great place to get started. If you have a background of managing community, and or even being a part of one and speaking at different community groups or meetups, if you will, and you want to start your own or at least collaborate with other people who already have one going, then there's a form within the GitHub repository that you can fill out inquiring about a specific city. And then we'll reach back out to you saying, hey, this city already has some leaders. Would you like to be introduced as a co-organizer? Or, hey, we don't have a chapter for that city yet. Then would you like to take this on and start producing these events, once a month, or, at least once every 3 months, so 90 days to get started. And then we can provide you with resources and like a one-on-one meeting for strategy, and then also even invite you to an exclusive organizer channel where you can collaborate with other organizers as well. So community groups is a great way to get started. And then from there, once you build your community, it's great to produce a KCD, so a larger 1 or 2 day event in your local region. And this is something that you could use your community to ramp up to your event for. So you might do workshops, for example, all the way up to your event, or you just might do like a 1-hour meetup, for example, all the way up to your event, and market to your community that way, and also gauge the interest ahead of time through these community groups. And then from there, if your KCD is successful, then hopefully CNCF will bring a Kube Day to your region. So these are essentially mini KubeCons that CNCF's events team would produce, and then collaborate with your local organizers, as program committee folks. So that's a great way to get started. But yeah, our GitHub repository, I personally have been working with Katie Greenlee on updating the KCD one, of course, but now the Cloud Native Community Group. So those resources are accurate and up to date for you.
Yeah, so Cube Day is completely organized by CNCF, or it's like
Yes. So
they take
people are
part in this.
asking, yeah, what's a KCD versus a Kube Day? What's the difference? Well, KCD is community-led events, and then Kube Day is like a mini KubeCon that is literally one day in a specific region.
Got it, got it. So it's like CNCF takes part in from the scratch. Nice, nice. So also you must have seen like lot of rejection of visas around the entire world. So many speakers can't travel through the like this event, skip on, and they can't present the talk. So uh, how you guys deal with it? Like, and how should the uh, people take it as a rejection? Other like this is like kind of a thing which is faced by every cloud native folks around the world, and it is not the fault of any CNCF person, or it is not fault of any applicant. So it is like is it matter like it affects the career growth or some kind of a things happen? So how should they take it? Do you have any part of take on this?
That's a great question. Our goal is to actually get the speaker bureau back up and running again. And a great way to utilize those rejected applications from KubeCon, for example, is to take those people and work with them in a CNCF Firsts program. This was also the previous ambassador's idea, including Bart Farrell. And Katie and I are looking to work on how can we level up people who constantly get rejected. And one of the ways is through speaking at a KCD, for example, and then you build that history with a video of your talk, for example. And then the program committee, we try to instruct each committee to help level up their speakers. So, help them write their proposal, for example, or review it. Maybe have a one-on-one session or offer a virtual group ahead of time that gives best practices on how to present. And so there's kind of an order of operations in the sense of, okay, I keep getting rejected at KubeCon. Let me try a community-driven event like a KCD. And then if there's a Kube Days in my region, how about there? And then I'll give KubeCon another shot. And so there's a lot of great content that we want to be able to utilize from KubeCon and try to help level up these people through their writing skills and their presenting skills through this CNCF Firsts program. And so I hope
Got it.
we'll have more to share later this year when our goal is for that program to launch.
Excited for the same. So,
Awesome.
yeah, nice. I would like to ask another question, which is like we have lot of certification on the CNCF website, right? And and also people have doubt like what is the Linux Foundation and what is CNCF? So how you deal with this thing, and what are the certifications you definitely recommend the beginner, or if someone is an expert who is already doing the open source contribution, what should the path they do? As like means you can share the beginner and the intermediate person level path. So do you have any set of practice or set of paths already mentioned on the CNC website?
I unfortunately am not the best resource for this. I know a lot about the CKA and CKAD certifications, and we are offering, vouchers for each KCD to distribute as they like. And so I think in a next Cloud Native Community talk, we can elaborate on that more with another CNCF person in terms of, what are the best certifications and the best resources around
Got
learning
it.
to get to that point. But the Linux Foundation has a lot of information on their website versus CNCF's website in terms of the training program and the virtual dashboard that they offer. So there are videos and courses that you can walk through that way, and then live tutorials, and then all the exams that come afterwards. And usually each exam comes with one free retake. So that's nice because they're
Yeah.
not they're not cheap exams. They can be on the ups of $350 USD. And that's why we offer it as a benefit to KCDs to give away at least a CKA exam, for example.
Yeah, and also if you are students and like you feel like it is too much, then there are a lot of resources available and vouchers available to get you benefited as a student, or you can participate into KCD stocks and stuff like they gave it out for free if you are good. You are actively contributing into the community groups and KCDs and other kind of CNCF events. So don't feel like you don't have that much money or something because everyone gets take care of the students. And if you are a student, then you should start everything from now because as a student you will get benefited with various things which we are not getting that things. So I would highly recommend like getting started as early as possible because as you grow, things get tougher and everything gets like it is here also like you can't do spend your time at different things because you are working also. So
Exactly. That's a
sorry,
really good
yeah,
point.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
because
also
we're
like
seeing a lot of events. Oh, sorry to interrupt, but like KCD Pakistan or KCD Guatemala, we have some professors that teach at universities, and they are also in the cloud native community, and they decided to host KCDs at the universities. And so it's a great way
nice,
to expand, the program and the cloud native community to students, like you were saying. And then you can also get student volunteers. Like Guatemala is encouraging their students to help host a KCD in different ways. And then that way they could get a Credly badge, for example, once they've done it. Or like KCD France had student volunteers, and as a thank you, they gave them a CKA exam voucher. Um, and there are different ways to utilize it through a workshop and a giveaway. And so um, I think you're right. Like there are a lot of resources for students nowadays that may have not been there before in the cloud native space.
yeah, yeah, that's why I recommend to students get it started from now. And once you start doing the open source contributions in the CNCF website and their projects, then I there is nothing stopping for you. Like you will grow differently from the traditional methods of growing your career. And remote jobs is one of the thing which like every person in the cloud world is recommending, right? So yeah, go ahead and do this thing. So another thing I would like to ask, it will be the final question for today's talk, and it is about CFPs and also about like ethics and diversity kind of a thing. So how you guys maintain it and so organizing KCDs and CNCF events and meetups, it's not easy. You have to focus on various things, diversity. You have to focus on the there are different terms you would also like to add on this. So yeah, I would you can go ahead with this.
That's a great question. So, actually, one of the first working groups that I hosted was on how to curate a diverse lineup. And that was for KCD organizers specifically. And it all starts out with your organizer team and making sure everybody's on the same level. And then your program committee, and that your program committee is eager to help people write proposals if they'd like, and utilize their network to do that outreach. And so in the CFP stages, when people are submitting, that's where a lot of the work is being done. It's not necessarily the reviewing phase, it's the reaching out to people, the helping them with their talks, reviewing it, and then not stopping reaching out. Maybe do like a one-on-one session if somebody has imposter syndrome and they don't feel like they are good enough to give a talk. Um, spend that time motivating them and encouraging them that they have something to offer. There are a lot of technical people out there that don't believe that they can contribute or teach a certain topic, but they certainly can. And there are ways to get better at teaching. I know I'm constantly learning on how to speak better and deliver the right message that can be absorbed properly. So yeah, that's the program committee. And then from there, we talked about building your schedule recently at a working group we had last week, actually. And within that time, you might consider having 2 phases of reviewing. So you definitely want quality content, right? So maybe your first phase of reviewing is a blind review, which means you can't see the speakers. And then your second phase is where you could rate just the highly rated talks and you see the speakers there. So you have the goal of diversity in mind at the second reviewing stage. So you're reviewing quality content with diversity at top of mind. And then from
God.
there, you're choosing properly with your goal. Last year we saw, I believe it was 21% of speakers on average for KCD were non-male speakers. So in the US, we try to focus on cultural diversity, but because this is a global program, the one common denominator we can focus on is gender diversity. And so that's why we've chosen to take that statistic from each KCD on non-male speakers. So yeah, that was 21% last year, and we're hoping in 2023 we could get to 25 or 30% non-male speakers on average. There are some KCDs that can get that 50% no problem, like KCD UK, a lot of the Indian KCDs as well. And it's very inspiring. And so, if there's a community that's struggling with people submitting those applications, then it really just starts from your community groups and meetups. And it's just such a domino effect from there.
Got it, got it. Yeah, it is really inspiring, like how the like non-male people like is getting into the tech and they are speaking at various KCDs and conferences. It is really inspiring, and they are really sharing nice amount of knowledge to everyone. So yeah, hope these numbers reach higher and higher. So thanks Audra for having sharing these things with us and sharing this awesome guidance with our audience. Hope we will connect again with again with these talks and cloud things with again with various things ahead. And thanks for supporting me as always. This cloud talks is on the same side. Like I'm trying to advocate people on the cloud native, and we also have this cloud native community groups and KCDs around India. So hope it rises and. To the audience, hope you enjoyed this talk. And if you have any doubts to the Audra, you can mention it in the comments. We will love to like answer. If she is not available, I will answer. If I am not available, she will answer. So it is like mutual thing. Another thing is, if you like this talk, to subscribe and share it to the everyone who is trying to get into the communities and learning on the CNCF projects. So all the best. Let's meet again in the next talk. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Rohit. It was a pleasure.